Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Dr. Robert's Music and Gear YouTube channel. As always, I am William Gladwell, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Lusithand Devices Alma Compression pedal. Now, first off, I'd like to thank Nuno for sending this pedal to me for review today, so I can demonstrate it all to you. And for transparency's sake, this isn't a paid review. Nuno has sent me the pedal for free in exchange for me to review it and talk to you about it and show it off, basically. So I have my iPad for notes, and let's talk a bit about the pedal. So based on the no longer made Diamond BCP1 pedal, the Alma compressor adds internal voltage multiplier circuitry and can be run on a 9 or 12 volt supply, which doubles the internal voltage to 18 volts and 24 volts respectively. The current draw at 9 volts is 35 milliamp hours and at 12 volts is 42 milliamp hours. It is worth noticing that this pedal does require a power supply and can't be run off batteries. Now, the higher internal voltage will mean that there is more headroom for hotter or active basses to prevent clipping. Also, as a side effect of that, it will produce a slightly fatter tone. A clean, uncompressed path has also been added to allow you to dial in parallel compression. Now, what is parallel compression? Taken straight from Wikipedia, parallel compression, also known as New York compression, is a dynamic range compression technique used in sound recording and mixing. Parallel compression is a form of upward compression, and it is achieved by mixing an unprocessed, dry, or lightly compressed signal with a heavily compressed version of the same signal. Now, control-wise on the device, we have the following. A clean control, which will provide a direct uncompressed clean signal. A compression control, which acts as a gain and compression ratio all in one. When turned up, compression increases, and so does the level of the compressed signal. The compression ratio is fixed at 3:1 or 4:1, depending on how hot the input is. We have a volume control. Now, this will adjust the level of the compressed signal. This and the compression knob can be worked together to achieve your desired output levels. Now, how I personally like to use the volume control on this is as a way to essentially just change the level when you got the pedal on to match what the level was when it was the clean, uncompressed signal with the pedal turned off, just so you haven't got any higher kind of spikes in volume when you turn it on. But you could also use that if you wanted to use the compression as a little bit of a boost pedal as well, or however you wanted to do it. By having this knob, it gives you the option essentially to dial in as much volume compared to the compressed or uncompressed signal as you want. So the EQZ control, or EQZ control, however you really want to say it, is a tilt equalizer which only affects the compressed signal. So it won't change the tone of the clean section here at all. The EQZ has two shift points. In the top position, it will tilt up from 900 Hz, and in the bottom position, the shift point is moved to 250 Hz, and you change that using the middle toggle switch. So for instance, when the switch is flipped up into the top 900 Hz position, when the EQ pot is at center, everything is pretty much flat. If you move it to the right, everything above 900 Hz starts getting boosted, while everything under 900 Hz will start getting cut. The opposite effect happens when you move the pot to the left of the central position. Everything under 900 Hz starts getting boosted, and everything over 900 Hz starts getting cut. And it would work the same way if you flipped it down to the 250 Hz mode. It would do exactly the same thing, except just the tilt frequency is obviously different. And the final control on the front is obviously the on and off switch. There is an LED light on there as well, which will come on and off with the pedal to indicate the fact that it's powered up or not, etc, etc. So on the right hand side of the pedal, you will find the input jack, which will take the signal from your instrument into the pedal. And on the left hand side is the output jack, which you'll plug into the next thing in line in your signal chain, be that another pedal or straight into your bass amp or desk or door interface, however you're going from there essentially. And on the top of the pedal is the DC barrel jack, which is where it'll take your DC power supply in from. Something to note, which I quite like about this pedal, is that being a boutique product, it's not mass manufactured by machines. So the bare PCB is then filled up and all built by hand. So it's a hand-built pedal, which is something you don't see a lot of these days. And it's really nice. It kind of adds to the love, care and attention that Nuno gives to all his products. Okay, so let's now actually move on to the sound demo section of the review. The first part, what we're going to see is the pedal plugs directly into my audio interface. and I am running a bass signal into there, and I will be adjusting that live on camera so you can hear what the kind of like the dry interface sound of it is and how that works. And the other section will be a studio section where I have it all plugged in and you can hear how the sound develops in the room and hear how it sounds when it's attached to a bass amp. I'm going to get on with what I call the live room section of the demo. And for this, the reason I'm doing this is because, you know, you've heard the DI section where it's going straight into the computer, straight into there, and I'm fiddling with the pedal knobs. But one particular thing with this pedal I've found is that it just sounds better going through a cab. When you're actually hearing it in a room, or, you know, a close mic'd cab, and I've got a mic back over kind of like 12 feet away, and I've got a DI coming out the back of the amp, which I'm all going to mix in so you can get an idea of what it may actually sound like if you're in the room listening to it. So we're going to start some stuff with the pedal completely off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the pedal. I've got the EQ flat, and I've got the volume now set to roughly where it should be. I've got the clean signal at half, pretty much. So this should be pretty much a clean, uncompressed signal now. Well, let's bring in some of that compression there. Let's play with the EQ now. Let's start turning the dial up. Shift the EQ point. Bring out the clean signal, so it's just pretty much compressed. Let's bring the EQ down now. Some parallel compression, bringing that clean signal in. You should be able to really feel how when you're changing this here in the room. So let's see, I've got this now back on of the higher part of the EQ, hitting those low notes. Let's twist that right back down again. So you can actually physically hear probably a lot better now how much depth it brings out. And that's what I like about this. I've got these two 2x8 rigs with my little TC. This is actually my main gigging rig, believe it or not. And adding this compressor pedal in has allowed me to keep a good volume and just add more depth. And it's really handy in bigger venues as well. Let's crank that compression right up. Okay, so I'm bringing my short scale bass out now, which has a different sound completely. And I'll show you now why I like this pedal for when I'm slapping about on this thing. So I'm going to show you it with the pedal off, and then I'm going to show you it with it on in my preferred settings for this kind of playing, which is about, 2/3 on the compression, half on the clean, because I really do like parallel compression with this pedal. It's one of my favorite things about it. The EQ kind of up 3/4, the shift point down, and the volume about the right place so it doesn't really add or remove any volume from the signal going in, if that makes sense. pedal in. Now you can hear with this pedal engaged the massive difference it actually makes to the sound of this bass. And that's something that is really handy for slapping, is having good compression. Because you've got to think, a lot of the time in a band, if you've got it off and you're on those... and then you move to slap. You kind of lose a lot of those notes, a lot of that feel, because the slapping part is always a bit quieter than your actual playing. But obviously with the compressor pedal and a higher level of compression, you can hear when I then move to the slapping section that the pedal does a job of bringing those quieter notes up and helping it be a lot more seamless when it comes to transitioning from just standard fingered stuff straight into the kind of the slap and popping part. And the last thing I'm going to show you now is with my flat wound strung P bass. Yet again, a totally different sound to everything else. And yet again, another way that this pedal can improve the sound of it. So for this kind of thing, I'm down here, sitting in the groove a lot. And then if we add in what the pedal does in this particular setting, which is with the EQ down low, yet again that parallel compression on half. I think parallel compression personally is one of the biggest like plus points of this particular pedal, and with that kind of set there and the compression on a little bit, it just allows you to help bring some of those low notes that can fade out together and get them closer into your fingering sound. Turn it off again. So you can hear those fingered parts with it quite well without the actual pedal on, but you know, those lower notes are getting lost. Yet again, put it in. Yeah, this pedal all round does kind of two things for me. It is great at compression, obviously, because that's what it's designed to do. But with the EQ section that it has there, it allows me to kind of fine tune the sound depending on the particular instrument I'm playing at the time. So yeah, I mean, it gives you something extra other than just what's on the top of your amp. Okay, so Will from the future here, and after having a little chat with Nuno, we decided we're going to include one more segment here, which was the compressor pedal with it on maximum compression, basically, which is something I hadn't shown off yet, because it hasn't got like the highest compression ratio on this particular pedal, but you know, it still does a decent amount when it's actually up on full whack. So let's do some sound demos with it off again. And with the pedal back on. And that's before we play with any of the EQ points or anything like that. And you can see here the compression is up fully, the levels are kind of matched as they were previously for volume. The clean signal is completely off on the parallel side of things, and we have the EQ right in the middle here, so basically doing nothing at this point. So we're going to bring it up a smidgen. And you can hear now we're really bringing in those notes tight together, especially with the fingering stuff. Flip that EQ point. As you can hear, it actually really brings the compression up for the rattle that's on this bass. It does need a little bit of a setup at the moment, as it is rattling a little bit, especially on that B string. But you know, that's just how compressors work. They bring up everything that is there in the signal chain. And one thing we'll notice as well, if we listen to the signal coming from the recording setup, is how that even at full compression on this, it's still really quite quiet, and you don't get a lot of buzz, hiss or hum or anything like that from it, which is really nice. So let's put the shift point back down, and we're going to start bringing down again the EQ knob to get a bit lower. Add some of that clean signal back in. And you can hear yet again why I love the parallel compression. It kind of brings in that clean, unfiltered signal pretty much, and then you can add your compression stuff on top. Oh, I've gone on about it so much in this video, but I really, really, really like this feature on this pedal. Okay, so another little bit of a wild card thing that me and Nuno were discussing was the fact that this compressor pedal could actually be used for something other than bass. What I've got set up now is my little 5-watt Hughes & Kettner Tubemeister guitar head going straight into the DI, not running into a cab or anything like that, so ignore the microphone down there. And it makes quite an interesting sound when you add the compressor pedal in. So I'm going to show you it now with the compressor pedal completely off the guitar on a gain setting. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the pedal in. You do, however, get a little bit more noise with it on than with it off, just due to the fact of this guitar and the pickups and the way everything is. But you know, that's going to be something part of the core if you put a compressor in front of a guitar amp, and especially when it's running gain as well. But it does make a big difference in the way it sounds, especially for the old chugging stuff. Let's put the pedal back on. So in this case, it's not really adding any extra gain to it, because the volume level coming in on the pedal from the guitar is basically unchanged. It's just adding those compressed signals in, and it's just an interesting different use case, really. With the pedal on. An interesting other use for that, should that be something that interests you, just so you know that you can do it. Okay, so that is our look at the Lusithand Devices Alma compression pedal. Once again, I want to thank Nuno for sending this pedal over for me for review. It is a pedal I personally do like, and I am now using in my live setup. I really didn't know I needed it until I actually had it in my hands, and now it's something for me that is hard to live without. Much like a lot of Nuno products, you can take away from that what you will, but he makes some really great stuff, and I really like it. So my closing thoughts are that if you're in the market for a compression pedal, I would seriously consider this, and hopefully you'll have heard the demo of it today and you'll see whether you like it or not. But you know, I've got Nuno's links down below in the description. Feel free to pop onto Facebook or his email, etc. Have a chat with him, get any extra information you need. but I personally think it's a good pedal and worth checking out. So once again, thank you Nuno very much. I have been William Gladwell from Dr. Roberts Music and Gear, and we have our links in the description as well. Please drop a comment below if there's anything you want to chat about, and I will see you in the next video.